friends, welcome to the Point. In this session, let's discuss about fundamental duties. Originally, our constitution contains only fundamental rights and not fundamental duties. And in other words, we can say that the framers of our constitution, they didn't feel it necessary to incorporate the fundamental duties of the citizens in the constitution. But they incorporated the duties of the state in the constitution in the form of directive principles of state policy. In the year 1976, the fundamental duties of the citizens were added in the constitution. The fundamental duties in the Indian constitution, it is inspired by the constitution of USSR. Japanese constitution is the only democratic constitution in the world that contains a list of duties to its citizens. The socialist countries, they gave an equal importance to the fundamental rights as well as their duties. But the constitution of the USSR, it declared that the citizens' exercise of their rights and freedom, it was inseparable from the performance of their duties and the obligations. Recommendations of Swaran Singh Committee. In the year 1976, Congress Party, it set up the Sardar Swaran Singh Committee to make the recommendations about the fundamental duties and why they are needed and why it is necessary and what it felt during the operation of internal emergency in the year 1975 to 1977. This committee, it recommended the inclusion of separate chapter called Fundamental Duties in the Constitution. It stressed out that the citizens should become very conscious to the enjoyment of their rights and they also should perform their duties as well. For this reason, the Congress government, it accepted this recommendation and it was enacted in the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. This amendment, it added a new part called Part 4A to the Constitution, and this part, it contains only one article, that is Article 51A. This article, it specifies a code of 10 fundamental duties to the citizens. The ruling Congress Party declared the non-inclusion of fundamental duties in the Constitution as a historical mistake, and it claimed that the framers of our Constitution failed to include the fundamental duties in the Constitution. So, though the Swaran Singh Committee suggested the incorporation of 8 fundamental duties in the Constitution, the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act included 10 fundamental duties. List of fundamental duties in the Constitution. According to Article 51A, it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions, our national flag and the national anthem. To cherish and follow the noble ideas that is inspired from the national struggle for freedom. To uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. And to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. To promote harmony and spirit of common brotherhood among all the people of India, to whichever the religion or linguistic or regional they belong to, and to renounce the practice derogatory to the dignity of women, to value and preserve the rich heritage of the country's composite culture, to protect and improve the natural environment, including forest, lakes, rivers and wildlife, and to have a compassion for living creatures, to develop scientific temper, humanism and the spirit of inquiry and reform, to safeguard the public property, and to strive towards excellence in all the spheres of individual and collective activity, so that our nation, it constantly rises to higher levels, to provide opportunities for education to his child or a ward between the age of 6 to 14 years. And this duty, it was added by 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002. Features of the fundamental duties. Some of the points can be noted with regard to the characteristics of the fundamental duties, and they are: some of them are moral duties while the other are civic duties. For example, a cherishing noble ideas of freedom struggle, it is a moral precept, and respecting the constitution. National flag and national anthem, it is a civic duty. Fundamental duties, it refers to values which have been a part of Indian tradition, mythology, religious and practices. So we can also say that fundamental duties contain a just of codification of tasks integral to the Indian way of life. Unlike some of the fundamental rights which extend to all the person, whether it may be a citizen of foreigners or aliens, the fundamental duties, they are confined to citizens only and they do not extend to the foreigners. Like the directive principles, the fundamental duties, they are also non-justiciable. The Constitution does not provide for the direct enforcement by the courts, and there is no legal sanction against their violation, and thus the Parliament is free to enforce them by their suitable legislation. Criticism of the fundamental duties. The fundamental duties that are mentioned in Part 4A of the Constitution, it has been criticized on the following grounds. The list of duties, it is not exhaustive, as it does not cover other important duties like casting vote, paying tax and so on. In fact, duty to pay tax, it was recommended by Swaran Singh Committee. Some of the duties are vague, ambiguous and difficult to be understood by the common man. For example, different interpretations it can be given to the phrase like noble ideals or composite culture or scientific temper and so on. Fundamental duties have been described by the critics as a code of moral precepts due to their non-justiciable character. Swaran Singh Committee has suggested for penalty or punishment for the non-performance of the fundamental duties, but it was not accepted by the Parliament at that time. Fundamental duty includes in the Constitution was described by the critics as superfluous. This is because the duties that are included in the Constitution was fundamental and it would be performed by the people even though they are not incorporated in the Constitution. The critics said that the inclusion of fundamental duties as an appendage to the Part 4 of the Constitution, and it has reduced the value and significance. They should have been added after Part 3 of the Constitution so that to keep them on par with the fundamental rights. Significance of fundamental duties. In spite of lot of criticism and opposition, the fundamental duties, they are considered significant for certain points, like they serve as a reminder to the citizens. That is, one can enjoy their rights and they also should be conscious about their duties that owe to their country. Fundamental duties serve as a warning against the anti-national and anti-social activities like burning the national flag, destroying public property and so on. They also serve as a source of inspiration for the citizens and they promote a sense of discipline and commitment among them. Fundamental duties, they create a feeling within the citizens that they are the spectators but active participant in the realization of national goals. Fundamental duties help the courts in examining and determining the constitutional validity of a law. In the year 1992, Supreme Court ruled that in determining the constitutionality of any law, if a court finds that a law is in question, it seeks to give effect to fundamental duty and it considers such law to be reasonable. In relation to Article 14, that is equality before law, or Article 16, which contains 6 freedoms. Fundamental duties, they are enforceable by law, and hence the Parliament can provide for the imposition of appropriate penalty or punishment for the failure to fulfill any of the duties. See you in the next session with some other interesting topic. Thank you.